the show we'll have it, where the council's in the news again. From rates to roads and trees that go, we're watching where your money flows.
Imagine democracy as a garden, messy, diverse, but growing. Now imagine that garden being trimmed, hedged, and paved over by people who insist they're just tidying up. This video isn't about scandal, it's about structure. It's about what happens when power becomes predictable, when votes are always counted before they're cast, when one group runs council like it's a private club, cordial on the surface, but having team members ready to shout and point, Councillor Kemp to bore into submission, Councillor Proudfoot to dull the discussion with sporting tales and homilies, Councillor Wilkins to tell us about old Italian wisdom on business, Councillor Kazmiri, and to stutter and shuffle, Councillor Cox, and a stagehand to roll out a message, Councillor Clancy, but with the door firmly shut behind you. Welcome to Shoalhaven City Council in 2025. And welcome to the story of Councillor Patricia White and the SIG Block. Councillor Patricia White has been a Shoalhaven councillor since 2012. She's now running the meetings, and on paper she has experience, seniority, and an apparent calmness in her manner. We continue to see flashes of a role model, Bronwyn Bishop. But here's the trick. Calmness is not neutrality. Soft words can deliver hard outcomes, and demanding unreserved apologies from the Tribe and Labour group becomes a tool to shut down debate. Her supporters call her efficient. Her critics call her opaque. But one thing is undisputed. She knows the system and is cunning, having sat at the lap of Greg Watson and Joe Gash, and she uses that knowledge not to open the door, but to close it. Councillor White is the anchor of the SIG Block, a majority voting group who operate like a well-rehearsed ensemble. They rarely break ranks, they rarely entertain dissent, and they almost never lose a vote. The lose player in the group is Councillor Dunn, who God forbid has a brain and is prepared to use logic and common sense over dogma. The Shoalhaven Independence Group, or SIG, are a local political party who, despite the independent label, vote with remarkable regimentation. Their block includes Councillor Peter Wilkins, Councillor Denise Kemp, Councillor Luciano Kazmiri, a party official, Councillor Jason Cox, Councillor Bob Proudfoot, and Councillor Selina Clancy, a defector from Tribe's original ticket. Together they form a reliable voting majority. In most meetings they control the outcomes, not with arguments but with numbers. Councillors like Gemma Tribe, Natalie Johnston, Matthew Norris and Gillian Boyd are often left presenting well-researched motions, only to see them voted down without debate. In behavioural economics, we call this loss aversion inaction. People don't want to challenge the dominant group, not because they agree, but because they fear the cost of standing out. So how does a block like SIG maintain control? Not by shouting all the time, well, except for Councillor Kemp, not by rational arguing, but by mastering process, creating fake offence to slip around valid discussions. Agenda control, items aligned with their interests are prioritised. Motions they dislike are noted rather than discussed. Procedural silencing, points of order, obscure rules, motions moved without notice. These are the tools of soft suppression. The overuse of urgency motions that were identified as a tactic by the Department of Local Government some years back, but still in the arsenal of SIG. Committee stacking, SIG councillors are overrepresented on key panels, shaping decisions long before they reach the floor. Performative transparency, the appearance of consultation without the substance. What did the community say about rates? Ignored. What did the CCBs say about planning character? Ignored. What did they say to a legitimate petition on allowances? Well, a hissy fit from Councillor Kemp and then removed from his record. The public hears, we've followed process. What they don't hear is, we designed the process to ensure one outcome. If you're a resident who voted for a progressive candidate, what are you getting? Councillors like Johnston, Boyd, Norris, Crickstolitis and Tribe do the work. They read reports, consult with community groups and push for data-backed improvements, only to be blocked week after week. Not only that, but they have to sit through Shakespearean nonsense from Bob Proudfoot, or inane confusion from Denise Kemp, or have Selina Clancy roll out to do some dirty work. And here's the kicker. This isn't just frustrating, it's demoralising. Because the system doesn't just reject ideas, it wears people down. And worse, You then get to hear Patricia talk nonsense to Chance and Beck. Of course, if she drives to the study pocketing her car allowance so Chance can give her compliments and Beck can giggle in the background. That's the genius of procedural domination. It doesn't need to shout you down, it just waits for you to get tired. For residents, the cost is even higher. Important issues, housing affordability, youth engagement, climate resilience, are sidelined. And the decisions that do get passed often favour narrow, short-term interests. We see the lineup of minority groups with minor issues paraded before council as Bob and Wilco give them the thumbs up while spending money we do not have. And yet public engagement fades. Why? Because the system has trained us to believe that showing up doesn't matter. Well, of course, apart from the peanut gallery of SIG supporters that turn up at meetings and constantly looked at and encouraged by Councillor Kemp, no wonder she often has to ask what is going on, too busy firing up the crowd for claps. Patricia White is an affable communicator. She speaks plainly, often mispronouncing words, desift, deflammation, but in general connects well with simple folk and can deflect with the best of them. But charm and cunning does not equal competence, and warm words don't insulate us from cold facts. She's been on council since 2012. That's 3 elections, 4 terms, multiple budgets, countless votes. If she hasn't delivered real progress on pools, planning, infrastructure, staffing, or transparency by now, why should we believe starting to deliver is just around the corner? This is her common approach. Somebody else created the problem and she's just getting onto it and will fix it soon. 12 years again, 12 years. Shoalhaven is at a turning point. The exodus of directors, outdated infrastructure plans, and unfunded decisions all point to a deeper crisis of leadership and accountability. What drove acting CEO Mr. James Rupre, formerly Davis, to up and leave after all the work from Patricia to get the committee right? Was it fear? Was it a falling out? Was it advice from a third party? So we must ask, will the mayor ever really lead with clarity, candour and courage? Or will Shoalhaven continue to be run by interviews, not outcomes, about to get to the work, behind-the-scenes manoeuvres? Because after 12 years, the got-to-start-delivering line doesn't spark inspiration. It sparks one simple question: why haven't you already? Let's name names, let's name moments. The CEO transition. Questions were raised about process. The SIG bloc dismissed dissenting opinions, then used points of order to shut down discussion. The Sanctuary Point Library. Confusing reactive motions. Some SIG councillors proposed abandoning the project, while others wanted to push forward without a clear cost-benefit analysis. The staff cuts motion, a motion that could have gutted council service capacity, was pushed by the bloc. Councillor Boyd and others warned of legal and operational risks. They were ignored. The motion passed. Thank you for listening. Get informed and use your vote to knock out the pretenders.
On the council, truth to light.